Some people learn English with grammar books. Others try flashcards and memorization. But real fluency comes when you feel the language, when you experience a story and let English happen naturally. This is one of those stories. A strange, quiet discovery that changed how one man saw his home and the language he used to describe it. The man had moved into a small house on the edge of a quiet American town. He wasn't looking for anything special. Just a place with working plumbing, strong heating, and a bit of peace. It was a one-story brick home with a narrow porch and peeling white paint. Nothing fancy. Nothing unusual. The kind of house you pass every day without thinking twice. He moved in on a cloudy morning in March. The previous owner had passed away, and the house had been sitting empty for months. The neighbors didn't say much. Just nodded politely when he waved. The real estate agent had told him the owner had no family, no heirs, just a clean title and a full history of paid taxes. That was enough for him. The first few weeks were quiet. He unpacked slowly, stacking books against the walls, cooking simple meals, getting used to the creaks in the floor and the odd way the bathroom window whistled at night. The house felt old, but in a comfortable way. Like a sweater that had seen too many winters. Then, one rainy evening, he decided to open the crawl space under the floor. He wasn't sure why, maybe curiosity, maybe boredom, but something about the uneven floorboards in the living room made him pause. He pried one loose and found a narrow wooden hatch beneath it. It opened with a rusty groan. Inside was a space just tall enough to crouch. Dust floated like mist in the beam of his flashlight. Cobwebs hung like curtains. And at the far end, tucked behind a pipe, was a wooden box wrapped in waxed cloth. He pulled it out, carried it into the kitchen, and opened it slowly. Inside were papers, dozens of them, neatly folded letters, old photos, and a notebook with a cracked leather cover. The name on the front said, M. Elridge. He had never heard of that name before. He started reading. The letters were dated from the early 1980s. They spoke about books, about theater, about strange dreams and unfinished plays. There were notes scribbled in the margins, poems, fragments of scripts, and strange doodles that looked like stars, birds, and broken faces. The notebook was something else entirely. It was filled with drafts of stories, but also journal entries. Personal, emotional. They spoke of stage lights, newspaper interviews, standing ovations, and then, suddenly, silence. A loss of purpose. A desire to disappear. He spent the whole night reading, unable to stop. By morning, he was convinced he had stumbled onto the forgotten past of someone important. Over the next few days, he started searching. He visited the local library, asked around town, and even spoke to an elderly woman who had lived on the street for more than 50 years. When he mentioned the name M. Elridge, her eyes widened. "You mean Marvin Elridge," she said. "The actor? He used to live right here. Well, not here, exactly, but yes, he just vanished one day. People said he went to Europe. Others said he went mad." He returned home with a chill running down his spine. Marvin Elridge. He looked up the name online and found a few old newspaper clippings, stage reviews, black and white photos of a man with striking eyes, articles praising his performances. And then, nothing. No obituary. No interviews. Just disappearance. The man stared at the walls of his new home with different eyes now. This house, the one he had bought for its silence and its simplicity, had once belonged to a man who had walked away from fame. A man who had buried his memories beneath the floor and chosen to vanish. He started noticing strange details in the house. A nail in the wall that once held a heavy frame. Scratches on the wooden doorframe, like someone had been pacing. A hidden compartment behind the kitchen cupboard that held a stack of yellowed scripts, some unfinished, some marked with angry red ink. He didn't feel afraid. Just watched. Not by a ghost, but by a story that hadn't ended yet. One morning, he opened the notebook again. Near the end was a single line written in large, uneven handwriting, "I don't want to be found. But if you're reading this, I hope you understand why I left." He sat with that sentence for a long time. It wasn't written for him, and yet, it felt like it was. He imagined Marvin Elridge sitting by the same window, watching the same rain, writing those words with trembling hands. A man famous once, then forgotten by choice. After that, he didn't tell anyone else. He didn't contact the press or try to sell the story. He kept the notebook in a drawer, where it stayed for years. But he began to write. Little by little, he filled his own notebook. Not with the same pain or the same poetry, but with something of his own. Reflections, dreams, small moments. He didn't try to be famous. He just tried to be honest. And every time he sat on the porch in the quiet evening, he whispered a thank you to the man who had disappeared. Not for leaving, but for leaving behind something worth finding. Stories like these remind us that every house has a past, and every sentence we read carries the voice of someone trying to be heard. Learning English through stories lets you hear those voices and add your own. Now it's your turn. Imagine you found something forgotten in a new place, a box, a letter, a photo, and it changed how you saw everything around you. Write about it in English. Keep it in the past tense. Use simple sentences. Try to show what you felt, not just what you did. And if this story spoke to you, subscribe to SpeakEase. Here, we learn English one mystery at a time, slow, real, and unforgettable.